What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with you another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. Today I wanted to talk about Shedeur Sanders and the possibility of him potentially becoming a Raider this next off season. And I understand the regular season still hasn't concluded. This may be a little bit early, but I mean the NFL draft buzz is already starting to heat up, and one of the most talked about prospects in this year's draft class is quarterback Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL legendary cornerback and now an iconic college football coach Deion Sanders. Currently the starting quarterback for the University of Colorado, Shedeur Sanders has been making waves on the field with his poise, arm strength, and his ability to make big plays under pressure. Over 9 games, he's completed 250 out of 343 passes, which gives him a completion rate of about 72.9. So he's been very accurate throwing the football. He's thrown for about 2,882 passing yards with an average of 8.4 yards per attempt, throwing for 24 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions, resulting in a solid passer rating of 163.1. And Shedeur Sanders has also managed to get 4 rushing touchdowns, though his overall rushing stats have been limited by negative yards, largely due to sacks, as the Colorado offensive line has struggled in pass protection this season. But I mean, there's more to the story when it comes to just the skill sets of Shedeur Sanders. Many people wonder if drafting a guy like Shedeur Sanders might come with a unique package deal that includes his famous father, and what that might mean for an organization like the Raiders, especially with an uncertain coaching situation with that lackluster 2-7 record. And when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, there's no denying that there's an obvious connection to the Raiders right there. The Raiders need a quarterback. There's no denying that they could definitely benefit from a talented young quarterback like Sanders. And with their season tanking thus far and a high draft pick very likely on the horizon, the Raiders are facing a potential quarterback shakeup. Now, the biggest question with a guy like Shedeur Sanders, though, is would a high-profile pick like him, would it breathe new life into the Raiders franchise, or could it be a big distraction? And could the presence of a guy like Deion Sanders be a distraction for this franchise? I mean, with him being the son of primetime, Shedeur's path has always been in the spotlight. Deion Sanders has been proven to be more than just a sports icon. He's a very powerful personality in the sports media world now. He's a college football head coach, and ever since he's been the coach at Colorado, I mean, he's always in the headlines. Any little thing he says is all over the sports news front page, all over ESPN. And I don't know about you guys, but Deion Sanders does not strike me as a guy that's going to be quiet, especially when it comes to the future of his son. I mean, he's already let it known that he's going to help guide Shedeur Sanders to getting drafted to the right situation in the NFL. Some even speculate that Shedeur Sanders may even pull an Eli Manning type of move if he does not go to a football team that him and his dad are comfortable with getting drafted to. But the good news is that everything appears that Shedeur Sanders would be very open to joining Las Vegas Raiders. It seems like that's one of his preferred destinations. And although I do like Shedeur Sanders as a player, there's no doubt that, you know, when you draft him, it's going to come with a lot of media attention. And it could be something that helps us, but it could also definitely hurt us as well. And ultimately, one thing I wanted to talk about is the potential package deal speculation. I mean, there's been certain reports coming out that it seems like there may be a slight possibility that if given the opportunity, Deion Sanders would leave Colorado and join the NFL as a head coach. And if that happened, very likely he's going to go after his son as his future franchise quarterback. Now, with that being said, it's just a few articles, just a rumor kind of floating out there. I'd see it being very unlikely that Deion would jump into an NFL coaching role, especially while being under contract at Colorado. But even if he doesn't end up being the head coach down the road in the NFL for his son, Shedeur Sanders, even if that's not the case, it still sort of is a package deal, because to me, it definitely seems like Deion Sanders is going to have some type of involvement with whatever team ends up drafting Shedeur Sanders, whether that be directly or indirectly. And it's definitely a very interesting subject to talk about. I mean, some people love the idea of Deion being an unofficial mentor figure for his son and for the Raiders organization. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame talent. He definitely has a lot of knowledge for the game of football, and his larger-than-life presence could help energize this organization. But let's be real, this could also add another complicated layer for any coach managing this type of high-profile father-son dynamic like that would be for Antonio Pierce. Or if we ended up going in a different route with a different head coach next season, like I said, that's still going to be a tricky situation to handle. The last thing you want to do is feel like Deion is kind of stepping on your toes. And ultimately, like if we do draft Shedeur Sanders and it's not working out early on, you know damn well that the topic of discussion that everybody's going to be talking about is whether or not they should fire the coach and bring in Deion Sanders as the head coach. So it's definitely something to keep into consideration if this is the Raiders' ultimate plan this offseason, to draft a quarterback, and if they choose to go for a guy like Shedeur Sanders. If the Raiders are the ones to draft him, Antonio Pierce or whoever steps in as the head coach for the Raiders is going to have the task of navigating this tricky situation. Having an NFL legend like Deion Sanders with a strong personality, even loosely involved in your team, could be exciting but also challenging, especially for a franchise that's no stranger to dramatic storylines. That's one thing you can say of the Raiders. It seems like we always have drama surrounded with the football team. There's always something to talk about this team, and a lot of times it's not great news. A lot of times it's just unnecessary drama and things that just aren't really helping us win football games at the end of the day. So could the involvement of a guy like Deion Sanders for this franchise be too much pressure on Shedeur, on this coaching staff, on this team in general? Also for Shedeur Sanders, it will be his first team without his dad as being the head coach. Or on the flip side, could a guy like Deion Sanders give good insight to the Raiders quarterback room and just the team in general? And that's the ultimate question I think we're gonna have to analyze this offseason, is whether or not getting a guy like Shedeur Sanders would it be a distraction to this football team. Because like I said, it's hard to imagine that Deion Sanders would just simply fade away into the background with his son entering the league. The Raiders franchise has been known for its proud and sometimes controversial history, but having a guy like Deion Sanders, especially him being involved in his development, might bring a level of scrutiny that could either make or break Shedeur Sanders and this football team in general. But one thing to know is I do think Deion Sanders has respect for Antonio Pierce. I mean, he said it in the past. He believes that he's earned the head coaching job with the Raiders. He respects him as a man. So I think there definitely will be a healthy mutual respect between Deion and Antonio Pierce. But at the same time, I mean, if things aren't going good, or if Antonio Pierce is simply making decisions that Deion Sanders does not agree with, like I said, I don't really see Deion Sanders being the guy that's going to hold his tongue. And that's where the distractions could come down the road if he was our quarterback of the future. But overall, it's just a very super tricky situation. It's still early, I understand that. But to me, I mean, this quarterback class is very top heavy thus far. I like Cam Ward. I like Shedeur Sanders. And I think there is a drop off after that if you go to like a Jalen Milroe. So far, it seems like Cam Ward may be the first quarterback drafted. And everything really seems to indicate that if I had to bet money, that we would go after Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward. Another thing that I haven't even talked about yet is Tom Brady being involved with the Raiders organization now. I mean, Tom Brady has already worked training with Shedeur Sanders, so he knows him at least a little bit on a personal level. He knows what kind of character the kid has, and I think that's something that could definitely play a huge influence in the decision making of the Raiders this offseason. I think Tom Brady is gonna have some say-so, and these type of football operation decisions And that's where I could see us pulling the trigger on Shedeur Sanders. But that's going to be a decision that the Raiders are going to have to make this offseason. It's going to be a huge decision. Overall, I like Shedeur Sanders' play on the football field. He's a pass-first pocket quarterback. To me, he is more polished and more ready to play next season over a guy like Cam Ward right now. But ultimately, if Shedeur Sanders' success comes tied with the influence of Deion Sanders, it could mean more for the franchise than just a change at the quarterback position. Ultimately, we'll have to see if this package deal with Deion would be a distraction or a good thing, a motivating factor for the franchise, depending on how we're able to handle it. But ultimately, we'll just have to see what happens. We will have to see how this season shakes up for the Raiders. What position in the draft do we get? But this is definitely a very interesting topic, and I most definitely want to get your guys' feedback in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of Shedeur Sanders and the possibility of him becoming a Raider. Do you think it would be a good thing for this franchise, or do you think it could potentially be way too big of a distraction for this franchise to handle? Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.